Hello, fellow Earthlings. I've never heard it described this way, but it seems to me that the blood moon is in effect the red sunset of the Earth cast onto the movie screen that is the surface of the moon. You know, A.R.T always says that the painter of the sunset never signs his painting and he never charges admission. And fortunately, because the weather was good, we had a front row seat to this phenomenon. Welcome to the channel. For those of you that are here for the first time, this is a channel where we do feature original music, original artwork, and original repair ideas that are targeted to the technician out there who wishes to be a craftsman in his industry. And the purpose is that by featuring new ideas, we find our work more refreshing and we find joy in what we do. We are continuing in our series this time on the consumer goods dilemma. In our previous videos on the series, we've been featuring this kind of dilemma where the urethane is peeling, as in this hospital seat, where I've been spending most of my time the last 2 weeks with a family member. Also, in RVs, we find this constant dilemma, and these are some fresh pictures in the last couple of weeks. In fact, it's rare to have a repair like this one this past week, where the material was vinyl and it was easily repaired. I did feel sorry for the owner that had this other damage repaired at some time in the past. Okay, so for this video and further videos in the series, I'd like to offer some repair suggestions because there's maybe not a clear-cut answer to repairing in a mobile setting. And when we talk about a dilemma from the viewpoint of the mobile repair technician, we mean that there is no answer, right? The possibility for failure is built in to the design of the piece or in the poor quality of the material that we have to work with. By way of illustration, look at this Land Rover seat. Every time the driver slides out, you can see how the edge of the plastic trim is cutting the vinyl. So that plastic trim will continue to cut the repair, or if you put new vinyl in there, it's going to continue to cut the new vinyl as well. This Land Rover belongs to an architect, and he understands full well that the problem is in the design. One example of poor design is putting this perforated urethane in Mercedes seating. Even with very, very low mileage, this is occurring. I'm surprised there's not a greater outrage from the automotive community. We might do something to try to hide that. And for the driver's seat, it's certainly not going to be visible on entering the car, but it's still only a stopgap measure. Further failure is guaranteed. Here's a panel that's been replaced at the upholstery shop. They've chosen a leather that has similar perforation and a similar texture to the polyurethane. The urethane has a softer, more flexible feel and a smoother valley when it's depressed. And we can take a look at the backside of the urethane part as well, where it's all checked and we can see the really cheap fiber backing. No wonder it falls apart. Now I have to dye the leather to match, and I have this leftover color here, which will be my premix. The value will need to be lighter, and the color will need to be more red to match our target. And no matter how much cleaning we did on this urethane seat, we couldn't get our masking tape to stick over top of our contrast stitching without the use of an adhesion promoter. So the adhesion promoter goes over the entire seat. This Mercedes owner will be really glad that they now have leather instead of urethane in this panel. If we don't step up our game to get proper adhesion on these new materials, we're going to experience the same failure that this individual had on this Mercedes seat. One characteristic of Mercedes urethane are the chunks that fall out of it. And when we depress this one, we can see the checking that's very typical of the urethane, and that's going to be the future failure of the entire panel. And by the way, while we're in this model car, this chrome piece peels off, and it's very easily replaceable. Looking at the new piece, you can see that the chrome and the black just pop off of there altogether. To pry it loose, you must push the button so that these two latches retract. Then it just lifts up. Press the new piece over the latches and they'll pop right out the hole. There you go, and there's your part number. And the proper name, cover trim. Big chunks missing from the urethane seats in the Mercedes is a very common occurrence. There's an upholstery shop that sent me this picture of a repair on one of these situations, and they're asking me what in the world is happening to our service industry. But the answer is, in this case, the dilemma is not so much in the Mercedes as it is in the technician. No one would leave a repair like this. A person would have to have a severe mental problem, and we're not going to make light of that on this channel. Since polyurethane is not a thermoplastic, one of the best methods for me to get adhesion on this first repair, and here now the second repair, is to use the plastic powder. Here's the third area. A very stout repair compound acts as a carrier for the plastic powder. When that gets melted onto the surface, it's very sticky. And the travel iron and the heavy-duty Teflon really give us a nice flat surface. Remember to cool it down a longer time with the chill bar, or you'll find that your Teflon even sticks to the repair. And since urethane is not a thermoplastic, you may find the texture challenging. So when finishing the basic repair, we may have to do a bit of spray texturing. So in this case, I will put on multiple layers of texture, and that will be with the gun at very low air pressure. So this gives us a very strong repair. I wanted to fit in this other Mercedes that had the very similar problem. Again, low mileage, but a huge chunk of the urethane pulled right out of the seat. This is a very heavy-grained seat, and so that's going to be our challenge with the urethane as well. So we can step through this one. It doesn't seem advisable to have such a thick film buildup here where you slide out of the seat, but how else are we going to get a heavy texture? So to make a stronger texture, I'm combining the leather dye with 50% of the plastic primer. Then we have a texture that stands up strong and will not fall over. And it will not readily wear down either. Well, I hope you appreciate the focus on specific aspects of repairs on these Mercedes urethane seats, even if it is a stopgap measure on these poor quality materials. We have some other suggestions coming up in future videos. We hope you'll stay with us. We have at least 3 couches that we're going to be talking about. We have some dealership seat bottoms that we're going to mention. Also, a couple of vehicles, one of which is the Mazda 6. If you're familiar with the Mazda 6, you know what a horrible video that's going to be. But whatever we can do in the field as we get asked to do it, we're happy to accommodate the dealerships on those particular vehicles. So thanks for watching. We'll hope to see you here next time.